Luke Cook, what's going on, baby?
Hey, Maximilian.
Welcome to the new studio.
Wow. Is this the first one you've done in here? Or
This is the, technically this is the second one that we've recorded, but the first one to air. So this is like big news for the Genius Life audience.
Yeah, great.
That we're coming to you from our
This
brand
is a new one. You should see this place that Max has got now. It looks a lot like the last one, to be honest, but it's really nice. No, the toilet. We have to talk about the toilet. He's got one of those toilets. The seat comes up when you walk past it, and then it sprays your bum and taint.
And taint.
It sprays everything.
Yeah, the taint. It's technically called a lady wash. Like you've got an option for the beehole, and then you press a button and it goes to the front.
Yes. No, if I'm seeing
you don't have to be a lady to use it.
No, that's right. I know because I just did. And I got ball sprayed, and I'm invigorated. I'm so ready for this conversation.
You want to hear something actually really funny? That so I bought that, and I used to live in a house in LA where the rent was like, I don't know, I mean, this is a long time ago, but the rent was like $1,400 a month. Mm-hmm. And that toilet seat cost more than the rent of that old place.
Wow. But
I bought it because I was awakened to the value of bidets. Like bidets are amazing. Do you have a bidet in your house?
I do. Well,
you need one.
We do actually have toilets, those pots next to the toilets, but I don't really get them because the hose points down, like it doesn't point up, where you need it to kind of like, if you were to use it. So we never use it.
Bidets are big in Europe. Are they big in Australia?
No.
No.
In fact, we use those pots for my boys to learn to potty train them. That's the only thing we use them for. But I think what you're supposed to do is fill that up with water, those bowls, and then wash yourself, which I don't understand. Like, I'm like, what you have, that's perfect. A good shot to the butt.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
There's also on Amazon, you can buy like portable bidets if your toilet doesn't support like a toilet seat bidet. It's the value of a clean beehole, man. It's
totally.
Like, yeah.
Underrated, and you're putting those wet wipe companies out of business. But just the invigoration of leaving the toilet with a little pep in the step.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like being, what I imagine it's like to be licked.
There you go. Yeah, it's like
what I imagine. I wouldn't know.
It's a technological rim job of sorts.
Truly. Speaking of rim jobs, Love Island is taking the world by storm right now. I've always been a huge fan of the English Love Island. Fantastic show. The American one is gaining in popularity now. Americans are like obsessed with it all of a sudden. I mean, I feel like I've been obsessed for years, and now everyone's obsessed. But people are asking the question, how do they keep their bodies in there when they have no control over their diets? And it's become a kind of apparent that what we think that is going on in there, we think they drink a lot. They don't. They drink 2 glasses of wine maximum, and that's very policed. Then when they eat, they can cook themselves food for breakfast. So you often see them making bacon and eggs in the morning, avocado toast, fruit and veg is on offer. And then the rest of the meals are catered with the men and women separated for meals. And that's not because of the drama. Apparently that's a mental health thing in order to keep them happy and cool. But also, they're monitored to make sure they're eating enough. Because apparently there was, I don't know if something's gone down, but they monitor, make sure like you need to eat more. You need to eat,
You think contestants are prone to undereating?
I'd say that the pressure of being in the house would make people like want to go even further. There's a lot of bikinis out, like everyone's naked half the time.
Can you walk us through like what, for somebody who's never seen the show, like what's the show all about?
Well, it's like a dating show for the hottest like early 20s people in any given country.
Really?
And the great thing about the UK one, and why I think the UK one has been superior for the longest time, is there's this element of politeness about the English. Like, so even though they do get like horribly dramatic, it always starts with politeness. So like, can I pull you for a chat? Would you mind if I have a chat? It's always they ask for a chat, and then they go take the person away from the group, and they go like, are we? What do they say again when they say like, are we serious? Like, are we committed? And they always see like they're checking in with each other constantly to see like you don't have wandering eyes, right? Like we're together, and it's the drama, and I think the nostalgia for people, especially of my age, to look back and go, those days were so much fun when you're in your early 20s and dating and like hot without a care in the world, nor like a lot of brain activity.
Yeah,
you're kind of dumb and you don't know what's going on, and all that drama is why we watch it. But also they're so beautiful.
And also, it's kind of like a throwback because for us, when we were in our 20s, we didn't have dating apps.
No, nor I don't think we had reality TV in this way.
Yeah.
Or like at least that represented us. Bachelor is a little bit older. It's like people who are ready to get married, so in their like early 30s. This is like early 20s. But I think everyone gets about it. I think the drama is so fun. It's not like it's not necessarily catfights. It's not physical violence, but there is the emotional turmoil of like fresh new love and turning heads and hot new people getting introduced all the time to the villa. So it's like, whose head is going to be turned is always the question.
And they're just like obsessed with how they look.
They're I don't know that they're totally, I don't know if they are, they're just so hot. They're all so beautiful. They're all like the top 0.1% of the populace hotness who are like wanting to be famous. They exit the villa with 1 million followers.
Wow. Each of them.
Usually.
Damn.
It's pretty amazing.
I can see that. Wow.
Yeah.
It's on Netflix?
I actually don't even, I think it's on Hulu.
Oh.
And so the new host of Love Island US, it used to be Ariel Vandenberg. You know who that is?
From that other show, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, it didn't do well under her. They got a new host now who is Tom Sandoval's ex-wife. She was on Vanderpump Rules with him.
That's right.
And he cheated on her. Honestly, the best season of reality TV, we will talk about health eventually, don't worry. The best season of reality TV ever was this season of Vanderpump Rules, where Tom Sandoval was cheating on his wife, and we knew about it because the drama had come out early that had happened. So you got to watch the entire season of him pretending not to have an affair with another woman on the show, but you knew they were lying. And then in the end, obviously, you know that the truth had to come out. It was like a study in human behavior. Was these people lying about not having an affair when they totally were the whole time? His wife now is the host of Love Island, and she's crushing it.
Wow.
So that's the latest in Hollywood.
That's the latest in reality TV. I don't watch a lot of reality TV. I know I became friendly recently with. And I was on his podcast, Colton Underwood.
Oh, yeah.
Who was on one of these shows. I think it was like The Bachelor.
That's right.
And then he came out as gay, and he's now married to my other good friend, Jordan Brown, who also has a podcast.
Wow.
So they're a very happily married gay couple.
I watched that season of The Bachelor.
Did you?
Yeah. I mean, he was like very, very handsome, and he was a virgin, I think, right? That was his deal. I think he was a Christian virgin, or that's what he said.
Interesting.
And so he was getting married for real, like I want to marry someone and lose my virginity to them, but he was gay the whole time. Fascinating.
Wow.
How good is that?
This is pretty good.
That's entertainment right there.
That is quality entertainment.
Seriously. But also Chris Williamson, who you've been on his podcast.
That's right. I do know him.
That's how he got famous.
And what was he on?
He was on Love Island UK.
He was on Love Island?
Like one of the first ones.
Oh my God.
And now he's this like philosophy bro.
He is.
He was originally like, can I pull you for a chat?
He is can I pull you for a chat? Can I pull you for a chat?
Yeah, that's him.
Can I chat to you? That's also
can I pull you for a chat?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you don't pronounce the T in chat. You say chat. No, chat. Yeah.
I love it.
Have you seen the latest I'm a huge ChatGPT. I like ChatGPT. I use it a lot. I don't use it for frivolous things, though, just to be very clear with you. Like, I don't go, I don't enter a picture and go, make me look amazing in this picture. Like, I don't do that. I ask it. I use it as a tool for various things that I don't want to think about and makes me think. It thinks for me for certain things. But it's recently come out in this independent article that ChatGPT has been used for therapy and is really not good for people. It's sycophantic. So it's basically like leading people on, saying, yes, I totally agree with you. You're in the right here. And is leading to people to commit suicide sometimes.
It's crazy. I'm so glad that you brought this up because this is something that I've been thinking a lot about recently. And man, what a gear shift from our last topic. But this is a serious topic, actually.
It is.
And I think it's a really important topic, and I think it's crucially important to discuss like today, and it's only going to gain increased importance as people increasingly adopt these tools. People are using it as a replacement for therapy, and I think that there is something that's really kind of amazing about it, right? Because like it is this incredible tool, and it is quite good at what it does, and therapy can be cost prohibitive to some people, and therapy is important. We are in the midst of a mental health crisis. But the problem is that, as you alluded to, it's been well documented at this point that it has this tendency to be sycophantic, meaning it tends to validate whatever it is the user wants to hear. And this can perpetuate obsessive thinking, negative thoughts. It can reinforce doubt. And I think that that's potentially doing real harm, not just to individuals that are using it for this purpose, but also relationships. And just to throw my own sort of, it's not really very funny, but my girlfriend will occasionally, we get into fights. My girlfriend will weaponize ChatGPT against me, and it's kind of funny, but it's also not. It's like she takes what it says seriously. She'll input into what's going on in our relationship to chat, from her vantage point, from her point of view. Mm-hmm. And it basically tells her what she wants to hear. And then she'll use that to weaponize against me. And it comes off sounding, it tends to sound very authoritative, and I just think it's a huge problem. It's not a replacement for couples therapy. It's not a replacement for a real licensed, trained therapist or psychotherapist. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so it is kind of worrying, actually. On the other hand, ChatGPT is proving to be really helpful in the setting of clinical medicine. I mean, there was another study that was published. It was actually a study that came out of Microsoft. And Nicholas Fabiano, who's a psychiatrist who I had on the podcast recently, actually tweeted this study out, which is how I came across it, that it seems to be at least 4 times more effective for diagnostics compared to a generalist physician. And it's way cheaper, obviously. Mm-hmm. So, it's a double-edged sword. I think people really need to be mindful of that it's like fire. Fire can either burn you or cook your food. Mm-hmm. And we just have to go into it skeptical. Yeah. I suppose.
I think similar to the media in the way that it shifted over the last decade, 2 decades, is that, you go to the news source and the news source is giving you its bent on the truth. And ChatGPT does the same thing, except it gives you your bent on the truth. It gives you what it thinks you want to hear. And in that way, it's like a really bad friend. And sometimes we go to our friends and we're like, we want to be told what we want to hear. We're like, oh my gosh, just had a fight with my girlfriend, blah, blah, blah. And your friend will go, oh, you're so right, babe. You're so right. He's so wrong. She's so wrong, blah, blah, blah. And that's what ChatGPT is doing. And I think that's really worrisome because I think we think that it's an objective piece of truth, whatever it says, and it's not. I mean, number one, it can make mistakes. Sometimes I'll screenshot things and I'll go like, can you analyze this for me? And then it'll spit something out. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I need to pull you up on that because it says this. And it's like, you're right, it does say that. And it's like, you're making mistakes.
Yeah.
You're not foolproof. And as well as that, it's kind of aggregating information from the internet and giving it to you as if it's the objective truth, and it's not.
No.
And so I know it's improving, and it is improving. Even that study on doctors' diagnostics, how ChatGPT was beating doctors and more effective. That was ChatGPT 4, which is what we're using now. That's the latest ChatGPT, and I hope it improves quicker.
Me too.
But also, I hope it stops. Sam Altman has come out and said it glazes too much. That was his literal wording. It glazes too much. It's too sycophantic. It's too agreeable and polite, and it needs to stop being that way. I asked mine to stop doing that.
Really?
When I asked it about the article, I said define sycophantic and said agreeable basically, and I was like, could you not do that with me? And it said, please, if I'm yes-manning you too much, let me know.
Wow.
Oh, okay, cool.
That's very smart. No, it definitely makes mistakes. I think you have to be uber cautious when using it to gather information in a domain on which you are not yourself an expert. I mean, you just have to be really, really cautious. Mm-hmm. I think it is way better than Wikipedia. I think Wikipedia is just a dumpster fire of ideological bias across myriad domains. So I do think it's better, but it still can be prone to error.
Yes.
And from a mental health standpoint, I mean, I think there are use cases where it can still be really helpful. I mean, if you're, and I want to be careful how I position it. I think if you need some sort of support and you don't have any, I think it could be useful for that. But there have been these use cases that have gone viral where people have expressed suicidal ideation to it, and it's listed out the tallest bridges in the country for people to jump. It's kind of crazy. So you just have to be really cautious.
Yeah.
I do want to read this this paragraph from the Independent article, which is citing the Stanford study on which the article is based. The study found that the dangers involved with using AI bots for this purpose arise from their tendency to agree with users, even if what they're saying is wrong or potentially harmful. This sycophancy is an issue that OpenAI acknowledged in a May blog post, which detailed how the latest ChatGPT has become overly supportive but disingenuous, leading to the chatbot validating doubts, fueling anger, urging impulsive decisions, and reinforcing negative emotions. And this has happened in my personal life. So you just, again, word to the wise, just be careful.
Well, it also said the bots may reinforce fantasy narratives rather than challenging irrational thoughts. Fantasy narratives. That's like bad.
Yeah.
It's really bad. I do think, so speaking of Microsoft, they studied some of their employees in regards to use of AI and were finding that their employees were thinking less critically because they were basically getting AI to think for them. And something I think about a lot is I talk to a lot of founders because I help certain founders make content for their brands. And they want, a lot of these people are really interesting entrepreneurs, but they're not very creative when it comes to this particular thing, like creating content. So they need my help. And I'm always like, please don't use ChatGPT for this. Don't use AI for this, because if you get AI to think for you in certain ways, your brain will stop firing in this particular way. And I think that's what's going on, basically. It's like, okay, so if we emotionally are like, well, I don't know the answer to this emotionally, I can't figure it out within myself, I'm going to ask ChatGPT. What part of our brain are we then shutting off from use, from good use, like pistons firing use? And we will lose that eventually. That's what I think is dangerous.
Yeah, use it or lose it.
Right.
I think it's brilliant for, I'll use it to synthesize a bunch of information I'll use it as basically like an editor that I don't have to pay, So if I'll write my own stuff and I'll feed it into ChatGPT and I'm like, edit this for clarity, brevity, make sure it's in my voice. ChatGPT knows how I speak at this point. Like its capabilities are astounding, but it's just that when you use it for the more humanistic aspects of real life, I think that's where it falters, because it's not a human.
Yes.
Like it can't feel,
Yeah.
Doesn't have those mirror neurons. So I don't know.
So worrying. But I think that whatever you want to work in your brain, don't give it to ChatGPT. Don't give it to AI. Try and think about it yourself, at least first, before going to it.
Yeah.
But I use ChatGPT for things like that, where I'm like editing a piece of copy or something like that I don't really feel like doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's great for that.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on. So Love Island, we got ChatGPT. We've solved that issue. Something that I thought was really funny, Mel Robbins is. Do you know much about Mel Robbins? I'm not like a big follower or whatever.
No, I'm
but she's
not.
like a very well-known media personality. She's an author. She put a book out recently called The Let Them Theory, which has gone viral. The theory itself has gone viral, and I think it's kind of interesting because I feel like it's something that probably goes really hard for people who have never heard of Buddhism or whatever. It's like basically the idea that just seed control. Like once you stop trying to control people, then happiness awaits.
Yeah, that sounds nice.
Yeah.
When I read about it, I thought there were really nice examples, like trying to make people love you. Don't. If they don't want to love you, then let them not.
Yeah.
Basically. And then there were other parts of it that I didn't like, and that I find to be generally apathetic, and if a friend is dating somebody bad, let him. And I'm like, no, actually, I don't like that. I think let them in general is a really it's a good rule to be aware of, but not to always use. I think that we actually need to stand up for people a little bit better when they're making bad decisions, rather than watching them make the mistakes that we know will be mistakes.
Yeah.
In the end, they're going to have to learn it themselves anyway. If you're dating somebody who's awful, and you're not aware of that, your friends should let you know, because they can see that somebody's awful. In the end, you'll have to learn it yourself anyway. But should we let friends be dating people who are assholes and just go, oh, let them? I'm like, no, I don't think so.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, I would agree. I think if you can, I think it's hard to change people's behavior. You have to lead by example. I think maybe the point of it to try to see it from a more charitable perspective, it's like, don't let your mental health get too wrapped up into the behaviors of others, because ultimately you'll never be able to control what somebody else does, how another person acts.
True.
You can tell that person, once, maybe twice, hey, I don't think you're dating the best person for you. Hey, I think maybe they're slightly abusive. They're kind of an asshole. They're mean to waiters, whatever. Those are all red flags. But if they continue dating that person, what are you going to do?
Yeah. You can only, true. You can't drag them out of a relationship anyway. Like,
Yeah.
You're going to have to let them go through it and figure it out. But it's like, hey, I'm just doing my part as a friend to let you know, like, I'm seeing some red flags here. I don't know if you're seeing them too. So I guess you can still let them and not let them at the same time. You can take it, vested interest, rebuke your friend, and also go, but in the end, you're going to make your own decisions, pal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good old Mel Robbins. I actually don't know anything about her. I recently saw this. There's this trend that's finished now, basically, but it was like propaganda I'm not falling for. Did you see that?
Yeah.
And somebody, one gay guy was like, Mel Robbins. What was at the top of his list? Not falling for that propaganda. I don't know anything about her, but I laughed at that.
I don't know much. I just know I kind of the topic of the book apparently was based on like an Instagram post that she made that went really viral, and she was like,
That's the book.
That's the book. Yeah. Whatever works.
Yeah, that does work.
Speaking of that meme, I was tempted to partake in the propaganda I'm not falling for meme, but I didn't.
Yeah.
I'm curious. What would be? How do you respond to that in your own? Like, what's propaganda that you, Luke Hook, are not falling for?
I think apathy would be one piece of propaganda I'm not falling for. The way that I define, that I think of apathy is like James Dean on a motorbike smoking a cigarette. It's like, I don't care what's happening in the world. Like, it's like, whatever, nothing bothers me. And it's like, that's apathy, like not giving a shit.
Yeah.
And not trying shit either. Apathy is just like, whatever, I don't need to try. I'm just going to be cool. I think that's what our culture thinks is cool, is apathy. And I think that is actually uncool. So it's not that I think that, I think like Johnny Depp is very apathetic cool. Like it's like very, very cool and like relaxed and like nothing matters. But it's like, it's not a lot of care involved. There's not a lot of like, and so that's apathy is something I'm not falling for. Like I'm like, even though it looks really good, I'm not partaking in it. I think giving a shit is better than not giving a shit.
I would agree with that. Yeah. I like that.
I think I don't know what else. What other? I saw this great video this morning of this woman on TikTok saying if leftists, she's clearly a leftist herself. She had pink hair.
Clearly.
And she was saying if leftists took care of the poor and the homeless, they would make such a bigger difference in this world, but instead take to the internet to be, to cancel others, to yell at others, to be intolerant. And I was like, what's so funny about that is that is exactly what every preacher across the country speaks about every Sunday in every pulpit to their congregations. They say, we need to be less intolerant. We need to be more tolerant. We need to take care of more of the poor. We need to take care of the homeless better than we do. And it's funny to see, and the post went massively viral because clearly people on the left are like, we do have a lot of improving to do. But also, leftism isn't a religion. Like, politics is not a religion, and if you treat it as such, it will be perilous for you.
Yeah.
It is not supposed to be the center of your life like religion is, like spirit is.
Exactly.
Right? And so, like, that was what I commented that. I said, it's interesting because that's what every preacher is talking about across the country right now in their congregations, and this is where politics and religion overlaps. And when you get rid of religion, you replace it with something else, and that might be politics, which I think is perilous. I don't think it's a good idea.
I think you're right.
So I think that's another bit of propaganda I wouldn't fall for.
No, I appreciate that. I've long considered myself apolitical, but when it came time to take stock and plant a flag, unfortunately this is the United States, we have a two-party system. I think Elon Musk is trying to challenge that. He's said that he wants to create a new party, the American Party. Good luck with that. But one party, as opposed to the other, has historically been more in favor of small government. I'm not a political expert by any stretch, but less government power. And so, you know, I think like what the direction that the left has taken over the past decade has been to exalt government to this sort of all-powerful, almost like a deity, you know, like government worship. And I think that's just like really problematic. There's this meme that I saw that I think is really funny. It's like, and I don't think that either party is perfect. I think that's why you have to be. I think it's smart to remain independent. But it's like I saw this this meme go viral a couple of times. I've come across it where it's like, you know, help the poor, help the disenfranchised, like, you know, like allow for equal opportunity, whatever. And it's like Republicans, no. Democrats, no. Hashtag BLM, Ukrainian flag, LGBT flag, heart symbol. You know what I'm saying? Yes. It's like, no, but let's tack on a whole bunch of virtue signaling while we're saying no.
Totally. And, you know, interesting. I feel like my point of view on this has shifted in the last week, considering that, like, I thought that, you know, Trump was going to uncover the deep state, not be a part of it. And to just say that the Epstein files didn't exist, that there is no list, that everything that Pam Bondi saw that was on her desk no longer exists, that he killed himself, you know, for no reason that night. Essentially, he was just going to go to prison for being a dirty pedophile. Like, I'm really disappointed. I'm like, oh, okay, so no one is above the deep state. No one is. We're all being controlled by this things that we don't understand, by people so much richer than us and so much more powerful than us than we can ever understand. And I'm disappointed. I was like, I thought that somebody was going to kind of stand up to the to the powers that be behind what we see on TV. But I think actually everyone's controlled. I'm disappointed.
And also, like, what about the Epstein files that were released a couple of months ago to influencers? Like, do you remember that?
With blacked out bits?
Redacted, yeah.
It's like, oh, but they don't exist anymore. They don't, like, they're not a thing.
Like, what was that about?
Anyway, I have to say, like, in recent weeks, I'm like, oh God, they're all terrible. Like, they're all awful, you know?
Yeah, that's why I just, I think it's fun to comment on politics, but like ultimately to keep a comfortable distance from it.
So it doesn't become the center of your life. I think otherwise it will eventually disappoint you.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Speaking of religiousness, seed oils and butter. They found that by replacing, not seed oils, sorry, plant oils was what the terminology they used. By replacing butter with plant oils, your total mortality risk, what was it? Your total mortality risk, 11% lower cancer mortality risk, and a 6% lower risk of cardiovascular mortality. Just by replacing the intake of oil or butter that you would get usually from butter, and replacing that with plant-based oils. Those included safflower, soybean, corn, canola, and olive. When I looked at that study, I was like, what's olive doing in there?
Exactly. A little sleight of hand, a little sneaky.
Yeah. But they did seem to measure those particularly. An association of 16% lower mortality they did measure those separately. So canola saw a 0.85, soybean 0.94, and olive 0.92 respectively. So it was like they did measure them separately, not just like as a whole group. But I did find it interesting that olive oil was heaped in there with those other oils.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Like, if you're a nutrition researcher, wouldn't you would expect that individual to know better, or that group to know better, than to lump olive oil in with soybean oil, canola oil.
No, why would you know better though? Like, why is that?
Because olive oil is an oil that's been used for centuries at this point by people. Because to produce olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, all you have to do is press olives. Right. It's a staple oil in Mediterranean cuisine, and it doesn't require the myriad production steps, the ultra processing that corn oils, soybean oil, canola oil have to undergo to make it to shelf.
Yes.
So, and the fatty acid profile of extra virgin olive oil is quite different from seed oils. The polyphenol content of extra virgin olive oil makes it very unique compared to corn oil, soybean oil. It's got anti-inflammatory properties. So to lump olive oil in with seed oils and to, make this claim that plant oils, and the way that it's been spun on social media, is that seed oils are beneficial compared to butter. It's not a study that's really powered to make that assertion. And it's an observational study, so it's not the type of study that is able to prove cause and effect. And so they lumped olive oil in with these seed oils, and then you see a lot of people on social media saying, see, butter's not good for you. These plant oils are a superior alternative. But correlation doesn't equal causation. And also, I think it's important to underscore that, there's a few problems, but butter, we've long been told that butter is not healthy. So people who are more inclined to using butter are likely, I would assume, I don't know, but I would assume that they're likely to, to have adopted other lifestyle habits, dietary habits that are perhaps suboptimal. Mm-hmm. It's
and
healthy user
overindulge.
bias. Yeah, and overindulge.
It does say the highest consumers of butter had a 15% higher mortality risk versus lowest consumers. And it's the highest consumers of butter, if you're eating a lot of butter, it's probably not a good idea.
Yeah.
The highest consumers of butter, that's kind of gross.
Yeah. Exactly.
Obviously they're probably more prone to dying. They probably don't know about anything about cholesterol or heart health or anything like that. To overindulge in a butter is to indulge in something that is very high in saturated fat, very high calorically. If you are one of the highest consumers of butter, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Or you just don't care.
Right.
The
subjects in these kinds of observational studies are not like you and me that are diligently using butter on sourdough bread.
Yes.
And the rest of their diets are dialed in. These are people on the standard American diet.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you take somebody on the standard American diet and you see who among those on the standard American diet are eating the most butter. And it's they're probably not, they're probably overweight. They're there's probably all these other lifestyle variables that you can do your best to control for. But at the end of the day, you're not going to be able to fully. And so it makes perfect sense. And then you take people who are regularly using olive oil or even canola oil. Because even today, you go to the supermarket, canola oil still has the red heart check logo on it.
Right.
So, there is healthy user bias there, even for seed oil users.
Right. But I guess the idea there would be canola is not high in saturated fat, which is why they would say it's heart healthy because it's low in saturated fat.
Right.
But it's also really high in, what would you say about that though?
Well, I would say, it's not high in saturated fat, but that does not a healthy oil make.
Right.
It's high in polyunsaturated fatty acids. In particular, canola oil is unique because it actually has high levels of alpha-linolenic acid, which is the plant-based form of omega-3s, which are actually even more prone to oxidation than omega-6 fats, than linoleic acid. Mm-hmm. So that makes it an even potentially worse option to keep at high temperatures and use in the fryer setting. So, I think canola, it's kind of the dose makes the poison. I don't think that people should be terrified of ingesting a little bit of canola oil here and there. Canola oil actually has a pretty high proportion of monounsaturated fat, which is chemically stable. But it's just why would you use any of those oils when you could use extra virgin olive oil? That's my view.
Mm-hmm. Well, probably it's probably cheaper, but I just don't see anyone using it on a salad. If I come over to your house and you make me a canola, a salad that's made with canola oil that you put on the top, I'd be like, that's very strange.
You'd probably leave.
I just think it's strange.
Yeah.
I don't know, what does that taste like? It probably tastes like nothing really. It's just like a fatty mouthfeel, I guess. And I'm it's just a strange thing to do. So what I'm saying is essentially canola and those other seed oils that were mentioned, safflower, corn, etc. They used to be fried. They're made. They people use them to fry things usually, right?
Yeah.
And for that, I think it's would you say that it's bad that people cook with them, that people fry with them? That's when they're most damaged? Or is it only if they're reheated as in like heated and reheated multiple times, like in McDonald's, where they reheat and change the oil once a week.
I think that's the worst form in which to ingest them, like the heated and reheated oils. But even quote unquote, they're never fresh, because it's like soybean oil is you're never getting soybean oil straight from the soybean. Mm-hmm. It has to go through all of these production. You can like look on YouTube and see examples of this. They have to be, the oils are actually within the food industry referred to as RBD oils, which stand for refined, bleached, and deodorized. First of all, to be extracted, they're often extracted using hexane, which is not, there's a lot of fear mongering that surrounds hexane and its use in the extraction of these oils. There's very little residue left in the finished product, but still, hexane's a neurotoxin. It's just to illustrate how intensive the production is. And then the oils are all inevitably, they go through this deodorization step, which exposes the oils to high heat, and that generates trans fats. So all of these RBD oils have a small but significant proportion of trans fats in them, and we know that there's no safe level of trans fat consumption. And so if you're consuming a little bit of soybean oil here and there, it's no big deal. But I mean, most Americans are not. Soybean oil is like the primary fat source for most Americans today. 100 years ago, the 90% of fats that people would ingest in America would come from animal source foods. Today, the vast majority comes from plants, like plant oils.
Yes.
And the fats are not coming from plants themselves, but as I said, these oils. So
these RBD things.
These RBD oils, yeah.
Yeah. And then what about canola? Because you can get cold pressed canola, right? Can you? That's a thing, I think.
Well, I think that they all undergo. Yeah, I mean the canola oil comes from the rapeseed, and
they didn't want to use that name though.
Yeah, for some reason. And so, yeah, even canola oil it's about 5% trans fats in it, which is, it's not good. Whereas extra virgin olive oil is perfectly healthy, perfectly benign.
Yeah, and the reason I bring that up in line with the religious thing that we were just talking about was people are very religious about their either hatred or love for seed oils. However, I will say that people who love seed oils, I'm like, show me your pantry. Are you really eating that? Like, are you really putting that on your salads, or you giving that to your kids? Like, really?
No. I find that most nutrition, like people, to me, it's all virtue signaling. It's like to appeal to the evidence-based community today on social media. There's like a checklist that you have to tick off, and one of them is you have to defend ultra-processed seed oils. You have to vilify saturated fat. You have to defend artificial sweeteners. That's sort of like the code of conduct for somebody who wants to appeal to the evidence-based community today on social media.
Right.
You have to, express caution around red meat and things like that. And I just think it's.
And they all hate Paul Saladino.
And they all hate.
They all go at Paul Saladino, who I don't follow Paul, but I do notice that every one of these science-based, evidence-based people, there's always a video of them versus Paul in there. And they just like go at this guy.
The reaction, I call it reaction slop.
Yeah,
it's like those videos, yeah. It's just like, but that's why they're unfortunately, and look, I love evidence-based nutrition. Like I've dedicated my life to communicating it. But it's become so tribal, and what is ultimately very weak data, like nutrition data, is kind of a misnomer, because it's like it's so incredibly weak, and yet it's weaponized or exploited to sell things like canola oil, like these commodity like foods like seed oils and margarines and things like that. And I just think it's like a big, it's kind of a bummer.
Yeah, I bet it is. I bet it is a bit of a bummer to look online to see, people that you respect. Because I know that you've had people on your podcast who are really like great people, but they're always gung ho for seed oils. And I'm like, I bet you're not eating it.
Yeah,
I can guarantee you're not eating it.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people that will say, like, publicly they'll claim like organic is a scam, but then they'll show their groceries or whatever, like, and it's like organic.
Yes.
So like, if you've ever double tapped like a post from one of these like evidence-based influencers that claims that organic is a scam. Like, why are you buying anything that's organic?
True. I always think that the reason, so Menno Henselmans did a post about how organic is a scam because the nutrition of the fruit or the vegetables is no different to that of inorganic. But I'm like, yeah, but you're not testing for heavy metals in the pesticides or the glyphosate residue, which it is my choice not to consume. Thanks very much. And that's why I'll buy it in order to not consume glyphosate residue or the other heavy metals that are sprayed on it. So you're not really honestly looking at it. You're going like, oh, the vitamin C is the same in both of the fruits. There's a slight difference, but it's very small. I'm like, sorry, yeah, test for heavy metals, test for glyphosate residue. That's what I'm choosing not to feed to my kids. Thanks very much. So for some things like you've talked about this, like certain citrus and avocado, you don't need to buy organic. You don't need to worry about it. But there are certain ones that maybe you should. Like if you're concerned about things like that, glyphosate and all that, you should like buy organic.
I think so. I think because, especially if it's something that you're eating every day, if it's something that you're feeding to your young children, where you're going to rely on industry-funded safety studies where we know that there's, glyphosate, has been contentious, but take another pesticide like paraquat, which is produced by a Chinese company, if I recall correctly, called Syngenta. There was an expose recently published in the Telegraph. The journalist Carrie Gillum, she was actually on my podcast, and she has, she produced this incredibly alarming expose showing that Syngenta had decades worth of evidence of harm of this pesticide that was completely suppressed and buried for fear that it would get out and that it would negatively affect the bottom line. Mm-hmm. And it's a pesticide that's been closely connected to Parkinsonism, and so there's just like all this, there's just all this corporate interest and I just don't, I think at the end of the day, like, were you to ever get sick, like, who's going to have your back? Like, these companies are not, and good luck trying to prove that you got sick due to a pesticide. So I think, like, if you have the means, better safe than sorry, the precautionary principle.
And don't live near golf courses.
And don't live near golf courses, yeah.
Because of the pesticide use on those grasses. I get up people about glyphosate. The evidence-based people always seem to laugh. It's like, well, we eat it in such small levels that it's not a problem. And I'm always like, okay, so your belief is that in small amounts it's completely safe, but courts don't agree with you. Like full courts have, like $11 billion paid out in the last 5 years from Bayer to people who got cancer from Roundup. But you, a scientist online, know better than the courts, like the system that went through. You think they're just giving away money? You think they're just charging Bayer with whatever? I'm like, there's various types of evidence. There's evidence that you can look at and go, it's safe in small amounts. And it's like, and then there's the evidence of the court, which is actually above you. You don't get to go into them and go in and go, absolutely, stop, guys, wait. Actually, if you find here that it's actually safe in small amounts, it's like, yeah, talk to the money, bitch. Like it's like $11 billion in the last few years paid out to people who got cancer from Roundup. And you think you know better. I find that completely arrogant. Yeah. Like it's like there's these various sorts of truth. There's scientific truth and then there's the truth of the court. They look at it and they seriously like take it apart and they go, yeah.
Exactly.
Cancer.
Also, and here's something, I was actually going to tweet this recently and I was like kind of workshopping how to say this, but this is something really important that I want people to keep in mind when assessing claims on social media. A lack of evidence of harm is not the same thing as evidence of no harm. Like just because we don't have, it's another way of saying absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. Meaning, like just because we don't have all of the evidence to say with absolute certainty that seed oils aren't doing harm, for example, just using that as an example, or glyphosate or whatever, is not the same thing as saying we have, certainty that they're not doing harm. Like we don't have certainty that they're not doing harm, and we don't have all the evidence that we need to say that they are doing harm. So there's this gray area, and that gray area is, that's where values come in, and right. That's where you should, I think, adopt a precautionary stance.
Mm-hmm. I do find it. I think what annoys me online is people laughing at people who believe there's something, it's like, these people who believe seed oils are bad for them.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you think it's so funny, do you? Like, you're that sure of your position that you're laughing and you're that smug about it.
It's so arrogant.
It's very arrogant.
But that's why people are losing trust in the scientific apparatus in this country, because it's like they have been gaslit for so long. And they've seen where, it's cumulative. The fact that, like, the food pyramid, for example, I mean, the food pyramid's retired. Like, there's no question there, but it was this paradigm that told Americans to every single day, every 24-hour period, to consume between 7 and 11 servings of grains a day. There's no such thing as an essential grain.
Right.
And then what happened with COVID, I think, was like the tipping point. But you can see it just across the board, like how we were once told that partially hydrogenated trans fat seed oils were, which were trans fats, were a heart healthier alternative to saturated fats, the kinds of fats found naturally in animal foods. And we, only after these products have been on the market for decades did we come around to the fact that, wait a minute, actually these fats are poisonous. Like, they're like really toxic, actually.
Right.
And yet they were endorsed by our most trusted, most orthodox nutritional and medical institutions, like the American Heart Association.
Yeah. And that's not even starting to bring up COVID, like where our medical institutions were lying to us the entire time. In fact, one of the guys in New York State who was like one of the head medical people for COVID was going to sex parties all throughout it.
Wait, what?
Yeah, didn't you know about this guy?
No.
Yeah, absolutely hilarious. Like, it came out last year that, like, the guy who was basically coming up with COVID policy was going to sex parties throughout the entire pandemic. Like, that's
Sounds like a good time.
Totally. I'm a big fan of sex parties. But, like, the people who were saying mask up 6 feet apart were having orgies.
Yeah.
It's like bloody Newsom.
Yeah.
Newsom was like,
At
mask
French
up.
Laundry.
I'm at French Laundry.
There you
okay?
go.
Like, it's like terrible leadership, but also just completely like hypocritical, like awful. Distrust in you is totally fair.
Exactly.
By the way, do you know Dallas Buyers Club, right? You've seen Dallas Buyers Club?
Mm-hmm.
You know how it's all about like, I'm going to do a terrible job butchering this, but Dallas Buyers Club, Matthew McConaughey plays a guy who is a straight guy who gets HIV and goes and finds a drug that is actually helping people with their infection. And the reason that it was never allowed and was covered up, and that it's such a battle for him to get this drug, was Anthony Fauci. Anthony Fauci was the guy keeping him from getting those drugs.
No way.
To help people with HIV.
Was there a Fauci character in the movie?
No. It was all about, like, first-person story, all about Matthew McConaughey, who found a way to, like, help people with HIV and was essentially using the black market to get it.
Damn.
Because Fauci was blocking people from getting it.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah. No one ever talks about that.
No. Damn. Yeah, man, there's so much that we don't know. There's like, there's just this veil, this cloth pulled over.
Also, Fauci was on the list for sure.
For sure. Yeah, man. I think that's what we're seeing right now is like a reckoning of all of the missteps and just the collusion and the obfuscation and I think it's a good thing. I think it would be the pendulum it tends to swing always too far in either direction, so we have to be careful not to overcorrect, but I think that this is a correction that we're right now in the midst of, a historic correction that is warranted. I think it's really important that people are starting to wake up to the fact that, like, they need to seize the reins of their own sort of health literacy, financial literacy, culinary literacy, that, like, there is a time and place for quote unquote expertise. Like, if you need a surgery, like, you're going to go to a qualified medical doctor, a surgeon, right? But, like,
yes, don't go to Dr. Jill Biden.
Don't go to Dr. Jill Biden.
Don't go to Dr. Mark Hyman even. I don't think he's a surgeon.
He's not a surgeon. Yeah, you don't want him to perform surgery. But no, I think, like, do you really need like an expert to tell you how to, I don't know, how to eat and feed your family? Obviously, like, medical conditions aside, I don't know. Is this something that we should, like, we've outsourced our own intuition. And it's something that, like, for eons, like, we've, as a species, we've cultivated because it's something we've had to rely on. And human intuition is, like, not something to scoff at. Like, it can be really powerful. But today I think we're brought into this world with the expectation that, like, we don't need it. We've got our experts. Let's just
That's right. Listen to the experts who'll tell you that fluoride in the water is fine for you, that these, bleached sea doors are fine for you. I think it's like, truly, maybe I don't know what people's intuition is, but I think if you were to trust your intuition, you could pretty much say with some certainty what's healthy and what's not. If you were to, like, look within you, when you're holding a piece of food, if you were to look within yourself and go, is this actually good for me? I think you can know. I think you can generally go, yeah, like, and know that. But however, I've been in health for a long time, so maybe I'm speaking from a point of privilege that I do have an intuition that, like, probably tells me that. But I do think that is the case. I think learning to cook, is one of the ultimate skills in order to be healthy. For this reason, because, when you cook for your family, you cook with love and you consider, like, how am I nourishing my family? Am I nourishing them well, or am I not nourishing them well? And when you cook, you just cut out all the crap. Like, you don't go, oh, I'll cook it with this weird looking oil. I'm sure that's fine. You consider things more and you just become aware of things. And the taste, like, you're not going to cook with olive oil when you can cook with, you're not going to cook with canola when you can cook with olive oil. Yeah. You're not going to do that. You're not going to pour it on the salad when you could pour something else on there. You consider what tastes good. And
you could show me all the observational evidence in the world. I would much rather have a serving of butter than a serving of soybean oil.
Right.
Like, I would much rather eat and serve to my loved ones, like, a pat of butter compared to a tablespoon of soybean oil.
Yes.
Like,
it's so funny. What do people, like, when they make toast, what do they do?
Dude. I mean, have you ever...
They use plant-based margarines and stuff.
Plant-based margarines, yeah.
I see.
Like Country Crock. I don't know if that's the brand.
Ew.
But, like, did you have that growing up in Australia?
Crisco? Yeah. Oh, margarine for sure.
Yeah.
I can't believe it's not butter was huge.
Yeah.
And that was Fabio. Remember Fabio?
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe it's not butter.
I met him recently.
Really?
He was a very nice guy.
How's he looking?
He works out at my gym. He looks good.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is he tall?
Still great. Head of hair.
Awesome.
Long.
Dude, it'd be
luscious.
terrible if he lost it. He'd lose himself. He'd have to go to Turkey.
He would have to, yeah. Best place in the world to get hair transplants, right?
Everyone goes and they have the best time. Like, I've seen guys, like, go and...
You'll never need one. You've got great hair.
I think we're good.
Yeah.
You and I think we're good. But I've seen guys go, like, they travel business class, they fly you business class, they put you up in a 5-star hotel, they feed you, they pick you up in a limo. And in the limo, they do, like, they show you you watch a TV of what's going to happen to you. You take the night, then the next day, they give you the hair transplant. You rest for 24 hours at the hotel. They take great care of you, fly you back.
I mean, the cool thing is that hair transplants are worlds better today than, like, the caricatures of how they used to look back, like, when we were, like, kids,
totally.
Right? Like, yeah. I mean, where you would see each individual hair. Like, hair transplants today, they're shockingly good. Like, they don't look like hair transplant. They look completely normal.
Chris Bumstead.
Like, the whole scar in the back thing that used to be a thing. Like, They don't even do that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Mr. Olympia. He went and got it done.
He did.
Chris Bumstead.
That's right.
He went and got it done. Looks great.
Wow.
I would actually love to... I was telling Cara last night, because one of our friends is balding at a rate, like, that every time you see him, and so he's been away for a little while and he got back, and we were both like, wow, he's really bald. And I'm like, you should make the trip to Turkey. No shame. All good. Go and get it done if you want. I would like to get the beard one done. You can go and get your beard done.
A beard?
Yeah. You go to Turkey and people come back with, like, imagine all that shit. You come back with this, like, this all spiked. And then you get to grow a beard. I'm like, that would be sick. I'd love to grow a full beard.
Yeah. Mine's a bit spotty.
I think, but I do think people would always look at my beard and go, fake.
I wish they could transplant the pigment producing whatever cells. What are those, melanocytes?
That's got to be a thing.
You think?
Well, Brian Johnson's all over it.
Yeah,
Which Brian Johnson, though? Brian Johnson, the Liver King, or Brian Johnson, Mr. Longevity? There's a third Brian Johnson, isn't there?
Is there a third?
There's another Brian Johnson.
I think you're right.
Anyway, isn't it crazy that they're both Brian Johnson?
It is weird.
Liver King, who recently, like, went to attack Joe Rogan. Did you see the video of him post going to attack him, one of his pupils is larger than the other.
I saw that,
which is a sign of something.
I was very concerned. Yeah. Apparently he hit himself with a band, with like an exercise band in the eye, and he sustained like neurological. He fell, hit his head, and sustained some kind of neurological damage. But have you seen the Liver King doc on Netflix?
I haven't.
Untold. Shout out to Netflix. Netflix has been putting out some good stuff, like the Untold, the Trainwreck series. I just saw a documentary recently called Shark Whisperer about this like shark, this chick on Instagram who swims with sharks. She swam with great white sharks, not in a cage. She wasn't in a cage. Literally like swimming as if it's like a bottlenose dolphin.
Those people are insane.
Dude.
Insane.
Crazy. Anyway, really good documentary. But Liver King, the documentary, I did watch it and it made me feel remorseful for him, or maybe that's not the right word. It made me feel like empathetic to his plight, even though he's lied to so many people and he's made ungodly amounts of money, ultimately grifting people.
Yeah.
But a guy like that, I think, we got to reserve pity for people who create that degree of like fervor and persona out of a lack. They do it out of a lack. And I think the other Brian Johnson's the same thing. Like I think it's just it's pathological. What these personas that they create for themselves. So it's like, yeah, you can make fun of them, but like when Liver King got arrested recently in wherever he was, Austin, I mean, yeah, he seemed crazy and like easy to make jokes about a guy like that at this point, but also like I kind of like felt a little bit of pity for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I did want to bring up the pot study.
The weed study?
The weed study.
What's the weed study?
Well, I think it's done by JAMA. How do you say it? JAMA or JAMA?
I don't know. Tomato.
Okay, so brain function outcomes of recent and lifetime cannabis use. Cross-sectional analysis of 1,003 US young adults. Heavy lifetime cannabis use was linked to lower brain activation in working memory tasks. Working memory impairment. Heavy cannabis users showed lower neural activation during working memory tasks, suggesting possible neurocognitive impacts associated with long-term use. The effect persisted even when excluding recent users, pointing toward long-term brain function changes, not just temporary effects.
Damn.
So basically, like if you've been using it forever or your whole life, you may be in some trouble. But This was also like and certain brain areas were not getting blood flow, like regular blood flow of people who didn't use cannabis or used it less regularly.
Damn. So I mean, shocker, using like weed
apparently not that good for you.
Becoming a pothead is not
ideal.
It's not good for the brain.
I do think people get really upset about this one. People really like love their pot.
People love weed, yeah.
Yeah, and it is like, I think for like if they were used to getting anxiety and helped them, or if they had a loved one go through cancer and like had it help them too, or chronic pain, things like that, it can be very like close to the bone.
Yeah.
Which is understandable. But in the end, like if you started using it for anxiety, it will eventually make your anxiety worse. I think for temporary use, okay. I think that long-term use, like it's saying, like it's not great for your brain. It's not good for your brain.
No, yeah, I mean, obviously, all empathy reserved for people who are using it for medicinal purposes. But yeah, I mean, to just use it chronically, I think the lifetime, somebody was considered a lifetime cannabis user if they'd used it more than 1,000 times in their lives, and yeah, so that's kind of a shocking finding.
Did you smoke pot?
I did like in high school because my friends did, and I never enjoyed it. Like it always made me feel psychotic. So I've never had a good relationship with it. And then I went for like years without ever touching it. And then I discovered like one of these gummies that has CBD and CBN in it, along with a little bit of THC. And I use it very sparingly, but I use it sometimes for sleep. And I found that it works very well for me for that purpose. Like it just puts me out and I feel great in the morning, but I can't be awake on it. I hate the way THC makes me feel when I'm conscious.
Yes.
But if I take it and I go to bed, it's like great, like a little bit. Yeah.
I feel psychotic when I eat it. Like if ever I do edibles, I feel insane.
Like when you're like awake and do it, you couldn't do it socially.
Awful.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm terrible.
Yeah.
Like terrible. But I did smoke a lot of pot when I was like between 18 and 23. Let's just say I'd smoke it all the time. But I'm very happy to like one week one summer, one Christmas I just went back home to Australia where there's not a lot of pot, and I didn't smoke for a month, and I came back and I just never wanted to touch it again, and it was one of the best decisions I ever made, honestly, because it just holds you back from your best. Like I was always, as an actor, when you're learning lines and things like that, and when you're performing, performing in anything that you do, having an element of doubt that you may not be at your best is the seed of doubt that can sow throughout your entire performance. And you need great confidence for any type of performance. So I was really happy to cut it out when I cut it out. Like I'm glad that I did. But the science, it keeps coming back, and it's not ideal for the pot people.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that about like the performance thing. Like I know a lot of performers who like are brilliant performers who, I discovered like only later after knowing them for years that they will use like a little bit of like Xanax, before performance.
Beta blockers too.
Yeah, stuff
I've
like
used
that.
those before. They're all amazing. They're actually incredible. Kind of shut off the part of your brain that gets nervous about things, and just kind of in this relaxed state. You don't maybe get to enjoy things as much, but it's helpful if you do suffer from big nerves, as I can do sometimes. But you look at Bill Maher, there are a lot of people out there like Joe Rogan, big smoker, Bill Maher, big smoker. These people have smoked forever, a lot, and they're still high functioning.
Yeah.
So they're outliers, I think.
I think you just have to have you just have to be able to cultivate a responsible relationship with this stuff. Like I will, occasionally we've talked about how like I'll occasionally use, like I use like a little bit, like a microdose of nicotine now over the past year and a half before recording podcasts. And I find it to be a great sort of way to lock in, but it can be highly addictive. I don't think that nicotine is good for you. I think that it has like nootropic properties. But I've never been addicted to anything. So for me, it's like very easy to have a responsible relationship with this stuff. Right.
How's your portion control with food?
Good.
Do you ever overdo it?
Yeah, I overdo it all the time, but I tend to generally, I've cultivated like a real, like I like eating things that are just generally very satiating. So I tend to like, even if I overeat, it doesn't really do much. Like I don't, my weight doesn't really fluctuate all that much. I tend to overeat like foods. Like the foods that I'm most prone to overeating are like really high protein foods, like Brazilian barbecue or Korean barbecue.
Yes. Yes. It was funny. I had Zach Levy. You used to have Zach Levy on the show.
Yeah, he's great.
He came over to my house for dinner once, and I was impressed at his portion control. Like he didn't go back for seconds. He was just like,
interesting.
Thank you. That's enough. And I'm like, but you see, that's why he's a trim guy, like a super trim fella.
Super.
Like just nailed portion control and discipline.
Man, I'd love to be in the same room with you and Zachary Levy. He's a fucking, like the way his brain works.
Oh yeah, he's fast paced and like zip zap zop, like funny.
Yeah.
Like almost improv guy, but he's not. But he's very sharp. I really like him.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
I love that he just like went over for dinner.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Lovely guy.
Let's close out by
You drinking a Shakewell there?
We're drinking a Shakewell. Yeah.
Did you shake it well?
I did shake it well.
Okay,
yes.
cool.
But it's a great name, by the way.
Thank you.
Tell our listeners and viewers what this is all about. Shake, because it's like, I love this serving. It's so small and yet 25 grams of protein.
25 grams of organic whey isolate. It's made with fresh liquid whey as the base. So it's naturally like hydrating, super high in phosphorus and potassium and calcium. And then also 25 grams of protein, 175 calories. No preservatives, no gums, no emulsifiers. Does it seem like I've talked about this before?
A little bit.
I could just like rattle off all about it because it's just taken over my entire life now. Like all I do is think about this and write stupid copy for meta ads and things like that. But it's going really great.
It's so good.
It's a refreshingly tangy drink.
Wow.
We make it fresh. That's why it's preservative free.
You can't beat those macros. 0 grams of fat,
Yep.
175 calories, 25 grams of protein.
Yep. It's a good whack. And eventually I think we should put in we will put in the micro ingredient, micro ingredients like phosphorus and calcium. It is pretty damn impressive what's in fresh whey as far as like how hydrating it is. It was like, it's ancient. So people used to bathe in it back in the day. Hippocrates used to give it to his patients. Like, it's an ancient thing that we just kind of stopped drinking. And now it's only used to make powder, really. Like, we don't really use it for much else.
Interesting.
Once it's finished with the cheese, it just kind of gets tipped down the drain. Unless it's made in huge amounts, then it goes to making, powder. So it's kind of like a forgotten tonic, but it's fantastic for you. Also high in immunoglobulins.
I was just going to say that whey, it's like unique in that it's not just protein. Like, it has like immunomodulatory properties.
Right.
Like, it's like good for the immune system.
Yes. So what's crazy is like isolate. Like, whey isolate won't have a lot of those immunoglobulins. Whey concentrate will. Now, we use isolate, but the base of our drink is fresh whey. So all of those immunoglobulins are still happening, plus all the natural hydrating element too. So it's a fun drink because you got to like, you kind of got to educate a little bit on fresh liquid whey, but mostly like when people look at those macros, they're like, yeah, I'm all about it. And it's a little bit of it's a taste thing too. I'd say it's more like fruity yogurty than creamy milkshakey. So people need to be ready for that. But it's the cleanest out there. I don't think there's anything cleaner.
No, it's great. And it's also sweetened with allulose, which there's a lot of buzz now on allulose. And it's like, it has this natural, I don't know. I've heard that there's like some GLP-1 relationship.
That's right.
There.
Well, in mice and rats, they found that it was squashing cravings for food. So if you'd have one of these about half an hour before a meal, you just don't feel like eating that much. Wow. So sometimes I've had to like film an ad for it and drunk one like half an hour before dinner. And I'm like, I don't really feel like eating. It just crushes cravings. And protein naturally does that too. So you've got that extra boost. I think it's like maybe a great tool for people who are wanting to lose weight, people who are on Ozempic and wanting to keep protein up whilst not overeating or don't feel like eating. I think it's pretty ideal for them. Or just any person who just wants clean protein. Like, the amount of supplements out there, whether it's drinks or bars, that are just less than stellar when it comes to their ingredients. Like David bars, I'm just amazed.
Ugh.
I'm just amazed at like that
Gross.
they were going for the clean eating people and that they made all those mistakes along the way. EPG, which is the plant fat that they...
Well, they duped us because initially the bars were relatively clean. Aside from the EPG, but it's like, okay, the macros were like good enough where I was willing to kind of turn a blind eye. Mm-hmm. But then they completely switched up their sweetening. By the way, it's so obnoxious that now everything is like a protocol and a system. Like their sweetening system.
Whatever.
Like in that, like barf, But they now it's like maltitol and like all this other like garbage.
It's sucralose, maltitol, sucralose, and they use allulose too.
And look, a lot of people are fine with artificial sweeteners. I personally am not. I choose to avoid them. But the sugar alcohols that they use can also in high doses cause GI distress. A lot of people like I've seen anecdotally aren't responding well to them.
They make me fart.
They do.
The David bars.
Interesting.
Yeah. But see, that's the thing about convenience. When you have snacks that you can just grab and eat, you can overeat them. Mm-hmm. Right? But if you can grab and go something that's like good for you, that makes you not want to have another one and has clean ingredients, I think people are going to be less prone to feeling digestive discomfort if they drink one of these rather than if they take a Muscle Milk, David bar, whatever. Just because you're like, is it a dairy problem that I'm having, or is it like a preservatives and gums problem that I'm having? And so this kind of cuts out that guesswork. I don't think most people have told me that their guts feel great when they have this. Like, they don't feel any digestive discomfort. And I think it just crushes like, if you want to eat something, you have this and you're like, good, I'm satisfied, which is nice.
Yeah, I like it. Where can people learn more?
Go to getshakewell.com. If you're in California only, unfortunately. We go live nationwide September 2.
Okay, great. Love that. Luke Cook, thanks for coming in.
Woo! Woo!
You the man. Later, guys. Love you all. Share this episode. Leave a rating and review, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace. Hey, if you liked that video, you need to check out this one here, and I'll see you there.